Benjamin Washiali, MP, Mumia Assist, and also the Majority Chief Whip, National Assembly. Michelle, back to you in studio.
Many thanks, Lofty Matambo there live for us from Parliament, getting different reactions from parliamentarians on the war against the judiciary and the executive. A discussion we'll be focusing on with the lawyer Manoa Hosea here in studio. But first, let's put some context into that latest poll result by IPSOS Sinovate just released there, which indicates that supporters of the ruling Jubilee Party are slightly higher than members of the opposition parties. The same poll also indicates that 80% of Kenyans are in support of the revolution, while 30% think the government is violating court orders. So let's bring in Eddy Gicheru, who is a political economist, joining us live from our city centre studios. Many thanks for joining us this afternoon, Eddy. Let's begin with your reactions, first of all, on this, this particular poll. Supporters of one party earning higher than supporters of another. How practical is that?
Thank you so much, Michelle. I think that the practicality of the survey can be questioned, because a survey that usually follows after a very strong event, such as the handshake, is very critical to look at the time that the survey was done, as well as the objectives of the survey, and more so the methodology, because I think that the biggest event that preceded this survey was the handshake. And if you remember very well, immediately after the handshake, there were very divided opinions on social media by different communities, and basically divided along the lines of these two political divides. But the question then becomes that during the survey and even during the handshake, do people really understand what the two gentlemen, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga as well as President Uhuru Kenyatta, did mean in terms of the context of the handshake? So to me, I think that it's extremely premature to have a survey on socio-political and economic issues of the country when there hasn't been clear unpacking of this handshake, because what is going to happen is still very blank. I mean, we have come from a very long year of electioneering. We haven't have a steady settlement into the economy, so that the government hasn't focused really on production. The government hasn't focused really on getting the economy back to the right path. There is still a lot of things that are hanging out on the air, but I think that everything is predicated upon this handshake, which, as up to now, I strongly believe that Kenyans haven't understood this handshake enough, and Kenyans haven't unpacked what it pertains with regards to stabilizing the economy and socio-cultural issues in the country. I believe that the NASA supporters are still very held up on the issues of electoral justice, on the issues of tribalism, on the issues of extrajudicial killing, on the issues of court disobedience by the executive, and the Jubilee part is still also held on the issues that ran into the election. So the survey, to me, is premature, and I wish that it could have come after the unpacking of the handshake.
Right, but that being said, such surveys definitely shape perception of the public out there. What perception would be put here on the public, just blatantly saying that members or supporters of one party earn more than supporters of another?
Yeah, I think again it is still predicated on the idea of lack of clarity, or if you may, lack of the content in the handshake, because the entire of last year, up to the 30th of January this year, both divides have had a very critical division, if you may, or a very critical feature on the rigged election. I think on the rigged election as perceived by NASA community, and on an election that the Jubilee members won as perceived to Jubilee supporters. So if you look at it from that divide, the perceptions that preceded the 30th of January for the country, as well as the perception that preceded the handshake, are still much alive. And you cannot divorce them from what is going on, because since the handshake, we haven't seen a concretization of what the handshake means. And I think that it is evidence that even the political class is not sure of what direction the two gentlemen will take. I mean, some people are analyzing the handshake or building opinions based on putting this handshake in the context of 2007-2008, where the right Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, had to come together with Kibaki to form the unity government. But I do doubt that is a leading perception, that this could be perhaps a Nusumkate kind of arrangement. But if you looked at the content, which most people, unfortunately, in the political class, have not gone into the document and read the content, and therefore use it to inform the debates around what does it mean in terms of transformation, what does it mean in terms of national reconciliation for these two gentlemen who came together on this deal. So the perception vis-a-vis the objectives and the plans that the two gentlemen have are too divergent that it will be misrepresentational of what the survey basically shows.
We're delving and analyzing more of that as we go along. But the same survey also showed that 80% of Kenyans preferred Kenya-China relations as opposed to relations between Kenya and the U.S. Why do you think, from a political economist point of view, this could be?
I think that this is definitely one of those cases whereby you have to go dig deeper into what has China-Kenya relationship been like, or Kenya-China relationship been like in the past 4 or 5 years. And to me, this has heavily been driven by the idea or the agenda that we have seen of mega projects, especially infrastructural projects, that the government has entered with China. Because usually when you have got these mega projects, especially infrastructural projects, they do spur some growth in the economy in terms of one investment dollar in an infrastructural project like the SGR spurs up to $4 returns or investment in other adventurous areas in this kind of project. So the communities that perhaps could have been exposed towards those projects could see this as something beneficial to them. And in my view, this also will be biased in the sense that the mega projects that China has been doing with Kenya, the investment firstly has caused a lot of burden in the country. I think it's also contributing to the huge debt crisis that the country is in right now. But the messaging around it or the communication about it could trigger a certain reaction by, if you may, followers of a particular party, which in this case, I would bet that this could be an opinion or a strongly held confidence of Kenyans who could be leaning towards Jubilee side, because the development infrastructure development that we have seen with between China and Kenya has been championed by Jubilee government, and therefore there is likelihood that supporters of Jubilee will definitely be able to support something that Jubilee praise or predicates as what has been the best relationship between China and Kenya. But if you look at in terms of permutation that looks at how has this investment percolated in the entire economy, how has it facilitated development, how has it facilitated, if you may, creation of opportunity, I don't think it has been equitable in the entire country. So this is something that could be strongly held by communities that are supporting the Jubilee side.
Right, there's so much more from this survey, but finally here, the same survey says 80 or 30% of Kenyans think the government is violating court orders, and this, of course, comes in the wake of the latest row between the executive and the judiciary. 30% of Kenyans say court orders are being violated by the government. What would you attribute this to, again, with regard to perception and political affiliation?
Yes, I think that these are essentially affiliated to the number of court orders we have seen emerging, particularly from the political contestation in the country that we have seen in the last 2-3 months. Of course, with the latest being all the Miguna saga that we have seen around. But it is critical to notice that 30% of the country feeling that the government, especially the executive arm, is not obeying court orders or is trying to undermine the judiciary is extremely high for a country such as Kenya that is struggling to bring, or rather to breathe life to the constitution, to try and promote independence between the arms of government, and one that has suffered over a long period of time since independence would be the judicial arm of government. The judiciary has been one of the areas that everybody have wanted to have a more accessible way of getting justice. And to have 30% of the country feeling that kind of sentiment, especially emerging from court orders that have been highly emotive, court orders that have come from a pretext of a political permutation, is extremely high. So my call for that would be that this should be a red flag to the government, that perhaps there's something that needs to be done in terms of harmony between the arms of government, particularly the executive and the judiciary, as far as the rule of law is concerned, because the country gets confidence in terms of investment and other adventurous areas that the survey is talking about when there is harmony between the executive and the judiciary in such a way that people have confidence in the rule of law.
All right, thank you. That is Eddy Gicheru Okech. He's a political economist.